Hello and welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Welcome to our latest episode, everybody. I'm joined by Michele Smith, the CEO of the Museum of Pop Culture, better known as MoPOP, over there on the Seattle Center campus. This is a return visit for Michele to the Seattle City Makers podcast. It feels like our podcast is getting some legs when you can highlight guests that have returned. And she's returning wearing a new hat as the CEO of MoPOP. We had her on in season 1 when she held the role of Chief Business and Financial Officer at the Woodland Park Zoo. She held that role for just over 5 years at the zoo and shaped the terrific Zoo Tunes concert series and the Festival of Lights that they've started over these last several holiday seasons, and steered that institution through a difficult few years through COVID. And Michele hails from Philadelphia, has been in Seattle for about 7 years, has a background in hospitality and the airline industries before her leadership roles at the zoo and now MoPOP. She's a resident of downtown Seattle and a contributor to the Forbes Business Council. And on this episode, we discuss her first year in the role of CEO with MoPOP, how she's approached it, her vision and priorities for the museum, how she is working to keep it relevant and change the narrative of what it means to be a museum on the other side of the pandemic. Talk a bit about some of the current and upcoming exhibits to MoPOP. We ask her about her first job and her perfect Saturday in Seattle, and talk a bit about the various places, food and beverage and retail and other things she's checking out. She's always been a great source for me as an urban dweller of what's new, what's hip, what's exciting in downtown and beyond, and we talk a bit about that. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Michele Smith, the CEO of MoPOP. Thank you for doing this once again with us. You are our first repeat guest of the Seattle City Makers.
I am the OG of the podcast.
Oh, we're grateful to have you
Me
return
too.
in your new role with your new hat as the CEO of MoPOP.
Thank you.
You're a little over a year in, right?
March 27th this year was my 1-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This room is cool. It's nice to get out of our regular recording area, which is the Olive Conference Room of our office, which is very lovely, but this is next level. Describe where we're in and what this is used for.
Well, this is our Blue Lounge, and we primarily use it for when we're having VIP events. You can rent this space out. It overlooks the amazing Sky Church, but today we have it closed because we're closed on Wednesdays until June.
But you got an event going on down here later, right?
We have an event going on down here tonight.
Yeah.
So,
and people use MoPOP for lots of different events.
We do.
Is that a bigger part of your operation lately?
I think it's a part. It's always been a part of the operation, but now that convention business is back, we're seeing more companies that want to do throw larger events here at this unique property. So we're seeing an uptick in that, as you know. So we're excited about it.
And I know we're looking at it for. I don't know if it's signed and sealed and delivered yet. But
we hope you get here.
Looking at it for the opening reception of the International Downtown Association in September, which we're hosting here in Seattle. And this space would be fabulous for the 1,200 or so folks that are coming for that.
I mean, who wouldn't want to come see a 140,000 square foot Frank Gehry building?
Yeah,
right?
It's very Seattle.
It is very Seattle.
So how you been generally?
I've been doing good.
Yeah?
Been busy. I know that we get to see each other from time to time, but it's kind of been busy taking over as the new CEO, just looking under the hood and moving in a different direction, but it's all positive.
How did you approach your first year in this role as CEO?
I approached it as a 30, 60, 90-day rolling approach. Really, 30 days, I was really listening, going on a listening tour. 60 days, still listening. And then 90 days, I kind of made a change in each area to kind of build trust and gain credibility. And kind of slowly move through because, as you know, change is hard. People grieve change. And so I wanted to do that crawl, walk, run. You'll hear me say that a lot in my leadership style. And so that's how I kind of approached coming in as the new CEO.
And you are developing or have developed a new strategic plan for MoPOP?
Hot off the presses, we're putting our final touches on. I think this is probably the quickest strategic plan I've ever done. I think if you think about it, organizations have done a plan for 5 years, right? We're doing it for 3, but we also were able to do our new strategic and operational plan within 9 months. And then it's overly thankful to the staff that we had, our consultant, Dawn from Radio Quiet. She was our consultant that worked with us. And we had a great time doing it with our executive and senior leadership team, and then with the input of our staff.
What will be different? What are some of the bigger moves that you're planning to make over the next 3 years?
Well, we're looking to be a flagship museum and talking about how we're changing the narrative of what museums are like for communities that we serve. So we're sitting here in the heart of Seattle Center, but the heart of downtown. And how do we support the communities for arts and culture? How do we support education and bridge the gap with cultural literacy for teachers and all of the school groups that are coming here? And how do we actually just get residents to continue to support arts and culture since they've been really hit within the pandemic? And, we have a great food and beverage program here and a bar. So lingering and retail and coming in and not just looking at the art, but using it as one of those spaces to, sit, sip, mingle, and learn about all of these different exciting exhibits that we have here.
How do you think about experiences like this in museums generally post-pandemic? Do you think they have to radically change what they're offering and delivering to capture people and to get people inside and to stay relevant? Was that part of your thinking in your new strategic framework?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we're looking at here is who is pop culture or what is pop culture? It's such a hard thing to tackle. And we're not looking to give anybody's point of view, but we want people to come in and, you have your pop culture character that you're thinking about, your fandom, but we're focused right now. If you look at the museum, when it first started, it was the EMP, as we know. So let's get that out there.
Experience Music Project.
Right. And now we are the Museum of Pop Culture. And we are in our 24th year, and we turn 25 next year.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to believe it's been around that long, but it's 2000, right? It was the year it opened.
Banner year coming up. But if you look at it and you look around at what the makeup of the museum is, it's around film, fashion, gaming, and music. And so there's something for everyone to do here. But I think that museums play a huge role in bridging the gap with youth. If you think about it, while we were in the pandemic, you were only stuck at home looking at Netflix and TV and all those different things, and how people really identified with some of the characters that were on TV or the stories or where people were watching together. And so, our new exhibit just opened, Massive, the Power of Pop Culture, which explores the importance of pop culture in our lives. And so we'd love for you to come see that a little bit later when you have some time. But it really goes through fandoms. It takes you from 1920s all the way up to our present time about what was going on in pop culture. So it's an exciting time for us where we're focusing on those 4 tenets. We primarily were on music before, but I'm really excited to focus on all those other areas.
I like what you had to say about sort of defining popular culture in Forbes recently. I'm trying to find it here. And you've been all over Forbes, so while I find this, maybe.
Well, I'm on the Forbes Business Council.
Yeah.
So I have articles.
People can find your writings there and on a variety of topics.
Yeah, then there's actually one coming out tomorrow on Women's History Month. So you'll hear me talk about what's going on with Women's History Month and focus on some great women within museums and arts and culture. And so I write an article every month for Forbes Business Council, and I'm excited to be afforded that opportunity to do that. It's a great resource for us, and it helps us spread the word around pop culture and what we're doing here in Seattle.
This is what you wrote in Forbes that I thought was just really poignant on as we talk about pop culture and then this upcoming exhibit. And the article was titled How Museum Leaders Can Leverage Pop Culture. And what is pop culture? Pop culture is the indomitable force that influences the voices of the masses. What is commonly termed popular culture is, in reality, the life force of society and a shared experience that unites people regardless of background and origin. The power of pop culture can speak equally loudly as a universal language to a student in Shanghai or a banker in Milan. Pop culture embodies the message, here's what everybody is talking about. Join in on the party. It's the attention-arresting aggregate of daily conversations between loved ones, media happenings, and life experiences. I love that.
Well, yeah.
That really captures it. In a world that's so polarized, there are things that still
keep us together.
Keep us together and unite us all.
It's like having a meal, right? Sitting down at the table and having a meal. That's what pop culture is. It's like there's no race, there's no gender, there's no there's something all of us can wield our pop culture, power around, right?
Yeah, that last sentence I loved. It's the attention-arresting aggregate of daily conversations between loved ones, media happenings, and life experiences.
Right.
It's great. So what will people see and experience in this new exhibit?
Well, again, we take a look at what happened from the 1920s to 2024, where we're at today. But one of the biggest things that we're focused on here is preservation, the artifacts that are in our care. So you're going to see Batman, right? And Batman has no cape. Because when we got it from the studio, and it was George Clooney's cape, it wasn't preserved well. It wasn't kept well. And it's really important for us and how we fund or look for donations is to continue to fund for making sure that we take care of the articles in our care. You just can't store.
Was George hard on his cape? More so than other Batman?
I don't know if he was. I just think how Batman. It was stored, at the studio. But when we received
Not his
it.
Fault.
Yeah, not his fault. But,
he's always so well kept. It would be hard to imagine him having a tattered cape.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just thinking about having these articles and making sure that they don't disintegrate, depending on guitars or, paper. We can't have paper in light for that long because it bleeds. So the preservation, you'll see a lot about that. You'll get to feel and touch some of the articles that we have. You'll get to see Dorothy's dress from The Wizard of Oz. That takes you kind of way back, a little bit. I actually was able to curate a small piece on Prince. So we have Prince's cloud guitar from Purple Rain, and then that amazing lace shirt from Purple Rain when he's on the bike and different things like that. So, but then we also get into Gone Too Soon. So we have Kurt Cobain's sweater and hat. We have Robin Williams, what is that? The Robin Williams, the red suit that he wore in, now it's hitting my head right now. I can't think of it, but.
Phone a friend over here. James, the producer. Mork and Mindy.
Right. And we have an area where it talks about Gone Too Soon. And then we talk about mental illness and suicide and all those different things. So there's all these moments. We also have from when the riots happened in Capitol Hill, the Black Lives Matter. And we have that in there talking about things that happened in pop culture, but relevant here to the Pacific Northwest. So, I mean, it really takes you through, what has happened over time and what's going on here and really focused on stories that we, want to tell, haven't been able to tell, but also what has happened here in our community.
When does it open and run through?
It has opened already.
It is open.
Yep. As of March 15. Come on down. Yes.
And what's been the response so far from the community?
We've had great responses. People are touched, There's something for everyone to do. So you could bring your entire family. So just think about bringing your kids and you could talk about what was happening at the time when you were in a certain pop culture moment in your life. Or you can talk about something that's actually happening right now that they are experiencing. So it's multi-generational, and I think that's what's really special about it because there's something for everyone in that exhibit.
Speaking of Prince, just side note, did you see him when he came through town the last time?
I didn't.
His last trip through Seattle when he was at the Showbox?
No, the last time I saw Prince, I saw him when I lived in LA, and that was at Chateau Marmont. It was he got up there and happened to be there, and it was like whoever was around got to see him, but it wasn't a show that was supposed to happen. And I was just fortunate to be able to be there on that night.
Yeah. Yeah, regrets not seeing him when he was playing the Showbox here. I can't remember when that was. It wasn't that long ago. But, you always knew you wanted to be a CEO. How far, so you say, and you've written about that. How far back, how young were you when you had that determination? And what drove you to want to be a CEO someday?
I started out in boarding school in Milton Hershey, which is in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's about, an hour outside of Philadelphia. And I started into taking business classes. And it just really got me into, first and foremost, I took this class called Own Your Own Business, and where you started the business at the beginning of the year, you had to go through owning the business, going through different challenges and accounting issues and things. And then I became a CFO later on in my life, but I always was in some type of business program at school. And they had that professional realm where you could do culinary, you could do business, you could do wood shop, and I chose business. And I've always just been into that. And from there, I always thought I would love to be a CEO and kind of built my career around it, but in different areas and different genres. I started out in travel and hospitality and business development. I went to localization and technology and marketing, and then, came over to the nonprofit side. I was working at cruise lines, airlines, all those different things. So I have a little bit of background of a lot. I worked at United Airlines when it was 9/11, so I dealt with a lot of crises. I think some of those things prepared me for the pandemic here when I was working at the zoo.
Steering the zoo through that challenging time.
Yeah, so I think that's my story, but I didn't really, there was no direct route to CEO, but I think all of my experience have helped me be in the best CEO position I have in my life. And I think the pandemic really set me up for success for that.
More of my conversation with Michele Smith after this from Clark Construction. Clark Construction Group is one of the largest building and infrastructure companies in the United States. For more than a century, Clark has delivered the assets that strengthen our nation. Their portfolio spans every major building market, from public to private, corporate to cultural, education to entertainment, and the infrastructure connecting it all: power, transit, water, and roadways. Visit their website at clarkconstruction.com to learn more about their work. And now, back to our conversation. I know your mom was a big influence to your professional growth and development. What was the impact she has had on you?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. My mom was one of the first Black ballerinas in Philadelphia. And I was explaining, they're like, well, where did she go from there? But at that time, and prevalent, she was sitting in the back of the bus for being a ballerina. She, was dealing with a lot of the racism and the things that were going on back there. She was in the 1940s. And so going through that, she then moved into business, accounting, finance, and different things like that. And then went into mental health and fell in love with that, and then became a neurosurgeon. So I know that's a very wild story, but she's always
to a neurosurgeon.
Yeah, but she's always had arts and culture in her DNA, and she always, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia, so it's a really hop, skip, and a jump from New York. So we were always going to plays and different shows. I saw every play ever to be made in New York, and so I was also I play piano. And I play the Suzuki violin, and I got to play in the youth Philadelphia orchestra. So culture, arts and culture have always been in my DNA. I've always appreciated it. And it's just a dream to be able to be the CEO in an iconic city like Seattle, to do the CEO of the Museum of Pop Culture.
Last time we chatted, you were working on a book. Is that still the case? And should we talk about your book?
I am working on a book right now. It's almost done, and it's called Unbalance, Navigating the C-Suite as a BIPOC woman. And it really just kind of goes over the story of my mom and some first, and then it really kind of comes into where I am today. And so it just talks about the challenges of being the only Black woman in the room in a lot of cases in my entire life, and then getting into the C-Suite, because it's been very different for me.
What's been most rewarding? What's been most either challenging or surprising in your first year as CEO here at MoPOP?
I think that what's been most challenging is I think that Seattleites underestimate who MoPOP is. And I think that they have this narrative of Paul Allen funding the museum. And so this is great because I get to set the record straight. We have been operating on our own as a 503c, with our own money. And so we do need donations to continue to move our mission forward, and that we are not getting money from the Allen family. What we have is 80,000 artifacts in our care to move our mission forward, to bridge those cultural gaps, to put those on display. And as I was explaining, we're sitting here in the museum right now, but only 1% of our artifacts are on display. So there is a lot for us to do to grow our mission, to expand pop culture, and really to make our mark as the Museum of Pop Culture in this next third iconic decade of the museum.
So reintroducing the museum to Seattle.
Yeah,
like Jay-Z.
Allow me to reintroduce myself, right? I think that's where we are. I think that people thought, we participated in the DSA downtown function, and I got a lot of messages from people like they feel like MoPOP is back, that we're being seen, that we're participating in the community, that we're showing up, that we're being thought leaders in the arts and cultural sector. And that's, really exciting for me. I think that's what's really rewarding, because we have a lot of passionate employees that have been working here for over 23 years. And I feel that they feel unrecognized. And I feel that now that I've taken over the helm and have been able to showcase what we do, it's rewarding work, and it also is just rewarding for the employees to see us, be recognized.
Do you feel a general lift from some of the other good things that are going on at the Seattle Center campus with Climate Pledge and the Kraken and additional investment that's coming, Memorial Stadium, not too long ago, a pretty massive renovation of the Space Needle, and what's happening around you that you're benefiting from?
The Seattle Center residents that surround me, like, the Space Needle, the ballet, the opera, we're a tight-knit group. Yeah. And we're very supportive, and they were very welcoming when I, first took over. And I did something, I had a great conversation with the CEO of the Space Needle and Ron. And he was like, Michele, it's like we're neighbors. Bring me a pie. Come over. Can I borrow some sugar? And from that, I spawned an idea. I said, you know what? I want to invite all the Seattle resident orgs over here and just do a meet and greet. And it was the best idea ever, because
you threw yourself a little housewarming party.
Housewarming party. Yeah. No one brought me pie, but it was great to just network. There were a lot of the resident orgs that had not been in the museum for a while. And so I threw a little, housewarming party, and it was great. But they've been very supportive, and we are a strong, resident org, but we also work with Joy Shiitake down at the waterfront. And so I think we're just all working together to get the city back to where we know it can be, right?
Was that a surprising part of the job of being part of this family here at the campus? Going into this role, did you expect those kinds of relationships and that network to exist?
I always had them in my network at the zoo, but it was a little bit farther.
A little bit removed.
But I think I feel it a little bit stronger because I get to work with them a little bit more closely every day. And we're all trying to figure out, like, how do we get more people to the campus? How do we do things together? How do we, support the community that we surround? So I think that's what I feel, is that I'm closer with them now, and that we're all really moving in the same direction, because we want everybody to enjoy their time when they're here on this campus at Seattle Center.
You're surrounded by a pretty significant residential population downtown, 106,000 people, record number of people living downtown. How are you engaging folks who live in the neighborhood and are in walking distance to MoPOP?
Well, as you know, I am a downtown
resident.
You're
one of them. Yeah, you're one of the one.
I'm not leaving. Everybody asks me, are you leaving, through the pandemic? And I actually live in a wonderful building downtown called The Modern. It's a Martin Seelig building. And what's so great about it—
plug for The Modern here, not a
I know.
Not a paid advertisement.
Jordan, where are you? Jordan Seelig. No.
It's a beautiful building, though. They did a great job.
It's a gorgeous building. And we just did a partnership with the building for our downtown residents. And what we're doing, we're coming out with a press release, I think, in a week or two, called the Apartment Program. So Martin Seelig buildings, starting with The Modern, we're working with Graystar, and we're working with Omni and all of them. And so if there's any apartment buildings out there that want to work with MoPOP, basically recently we're having 25% off our membership and all those different things because we want people to come and stay. And my goal is, in 2025, we are doing a renovation of our culture kitchen, which is our food and beverage and our retail. And once that is done, we would love to stay open late on certain nights as we have apartments surrounding us. So before they go to the game, come, have a drink, have some food, buy some retail. Not all of the museum will be open, but we want to be able for people to come in and experience a different vibe and really be a part of the community. And so some of the things that we're doing here right now with our food and beverage program is that we are working with local community food purveyors. So our food story is local, regional, and really hyper-focused with small business owners.
I love it. I'm adding to the nightlife scene and offerings for downtown, whether you live here or not. But it feels like a great move given the 80 concerts that are happening now at Climate Pledge that weren't happening before, certainly hockey and maybe NBA to come, that we've got more pre-game, post-game, pre-concert, post-concert nightlife experiences, food and beverage to enjoy. You go by the Chihuly Cafe before a Kraken game and it's just rocking. It's great.
Right. So that's what
people should be here too, right?
Striving to be. Yeah. And also just not just if you're going to a game, but if you're just in the neighborhood and want to do something different, if you just want to enjoy the building in itself is art. So just coming in the building and having a cocktail and having that vibe. And my goal is really to have, local artists play music or poetry upstairs in the lounge and have different things and really support local artists because we know they still need support. They're still coming out of the pandemic themselves. And so why not come over to MoPOP and hear your favorite acoustic, guitar player, have a drink, get some retail and go home. You don't have to just go to a Kraken game. We just want you to come visit and be in a different environment and support the community that serves us around us.
Sounds like a good night of mixing art, music, food, and sports. You can do it all. You, for some time, have been my go-to source for cool new places to eat and drink and shop and experience downtown urban life. What do you got? What do you got for me?
I have two.
For us.
Well, I have the Kitchen Market, right? That's right down in Pikes Place Market.
Oh, Stephanie King, of previous Seattle City Maker podcast guest.
One of my favorite places to go, right? We don't have that great of grocery stores here, but I feel like it's my family grocery store.
Yeah, she does a great job.
There's a butcher there. You can pick up your rotisserie chicken, some of your items that you're missing, and I can just walk down the hill because I live on 2nd.
Yeah.
I think my other one that we were talking about was Mainstay Provisions. They have a location up in Finney Ridge, but they most recently opened up on 7th. I'm from Philadelphia, so I'm missing my bodegas. So I call that my upscale bodega. You can get your wine, you can get your breakfast. They have lunch, and I like that place too. So I think that's a really great place that's new in the neighborhood for me. What about you? Anything that you're seeing lately?
I was just into, not brand new, but been open almost a year, Downtown Spirits, which moved from kind of around 7th and Denny to 7th and Olive, Stewart-ish. And I was just in there again yesterday. They do a great job. They had the Just Walk in, Walk Out, what is it? Amazon's technology. They've modified it slightly.
Right.
So you don't need their app to go in and grab and walk out without.
Grab and go.
You can, you Apple Pay, you can tap your card. So there's still a lot of efficiency there. Great selection of beer, wine, liquor, snacks.
I'm going to check that one out.
And a very efficient experience in the Tower building there at 7th and Olive.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah. So what else is new on the list that I've been going to? I'm excited to get into the Museum of Illusions over at 5th and Union. That looks close to opening. Not quite open yet, but and then new retailer that we highlighted on, I think, the last episode. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but out of Boulder, Colorado, Hemily.
And what is
outdoor
that?
Retailer that went into the old or former Arc'teryx space at 4th and Pike. So
I'm gonna have
it's nice to see some of these storefronts filling up.
It's nice to see, the storefronts coming back. I think what's really exciting for me, because we've been missing it. We know where it was. We know where it's going to be. Now we have cruise season here. And so I think, everyone's looking for us to continue to expand.
Do you get cruisers through here? Do they find their way up here?
They do find their way up here. And we're excited to have that extended cruise season and 20 more extra ships. I think 274 sailings are coming
another record
through.
or close to record year.
Yeah, I pay attention to the DSA stats.
There you go. Good. We'll test you. You were mentioning another place offline here, off air here, that isn't quite downtown, but it's pretty cool. And I haven't been there yet. And it relates to
MoPOP.
pop culture and MoPOP. So tell us about this one in our wonderful hip urban neighborhood to the north of downtown.
Yeah, I mean,
Ballard.
It's not that far, but we all love Ballard.
We love
right?
Ballard.
We love Ballard. Hi-fi lounges are coming back. I don't know if you know what those are, but Shibuya Hi-Fi Lounge is in Ballard, and they have great owners, and you can go in and really just sit in a listening room. I mean, they have the best
high-end
speakers.
gear, right? Real high-end.
Yeah, and
audiophile quality gear.
Yeah, Brian was a DJ that retired and has one of the most eclectic record collections that I've ever seen in my life. But if you go online and you can see, like, he'll have Prince night and they're only going to be playing Prince records, or, they might have, Nirvana night, but it's a great selection. They have a bar, but in the hi-fi lounge where you're sitting actually in there, you're sitting in like a living room and you can just totally relax. And he plays.
You gotta take your shoes off, right? Do I have that right? You gotta take your shoes off.
You have to take your shoes off, and there's no food in the hi-fi lounge.
No food in the lounge.
But they also have the outside, of the lounge where they play. They have a different DJ. It's the normal, bar spot, but the special spot is the hi-fi lounge where you can sit and relax. And I've tried it out twice, and it's super relaxing. But it's nothing like listening to a hi-fi vinyl record.
Yeah,
that's back in right now. Do you know that?
Oh,
that's the new thing.
Vinyl's
like,
back.
I'm starting to buy.
So, have you thought about this concept for MoPOP potentially?
We've thought about doing some special events there, and we've thought about having them here.
Yeah.
So we are, hopefully going to coordinate and do a little bit more with them. But I mean, go check them out. They are amazing people. And I think they are bringing something special, especially since we're a music town.
Yeah, it's a super cool concept. I've been meaning to get up there. Haven't been up there yet, but
we'll have to get together.
A colleague that's done it, and there's one in Denver too. I understand, not the same owners, but similar concept.
And it's coming back. Like right in Japan, they have those. They're all over the place. So everybody's kind of taking it back to the old school, but just sitting with a cocktail, listening to a record play, and everyone's quiet, and you're just listening to the beauty of music.
Yeah. That sounds great. Sounds great. We have a couple of final questions on our podcast. You're familiar with one of them, I know, and we'll give you another chance to answer that one. But I don't think we put this one to you when you were on last time around.
Maybe.
Your first job that you took a paycheck for.
Toys R Us.
Yeah.
I was a checker at Toys R Us in King of Prussia, which is
the big mall there.
The big mall there. And can you imagine, that was, I used to be like the number one checker with toys and different things. And that's where I learned how to put together bikes, because at Christmas time, you would, no one wants to put together the toys or the bikes. And so the extra job is that you would put together, someone would buy a bike and you'd say, come back tomorrow in a day and I'll put the bike together for you. And so was my first job. Can you believe it? Toys R Us. Thank you. Thanks for your support.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then our final question is your perfect Saturday in Seattle.
It's kind of changed now.
Okay, this is good.
Wait, I moved a block back. So isn't it? It's interesting.
You're in a little bit different spot downtown than when you responded to this question on the
because
first episode.
When I was on the first episode, I was on First Avenue, right? So I was at the Thompson area. So that was a really easy gateway down to Pike's Market.
Yeah.
And I know that I only moved a block back, but it opens up different possibilities for you when you're thinking about it and you're walking around. So my perfect Saturday now is getting up and getting a cup of coffee, but going on 4th Avenue and going to the French bakery. Is it called what is it? My goodness.
We can phone a friend again here. I think our producer.
Phone a friend. It's
at the tip of his tongue.
It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on 4th. They have the best French onion soup. But I usually go there to get my baguettes for the week. So I start off, leave, come out of the Modern, walk down the street.
The plug for the Modern.
All right. La Parisienne.
La Parisienne.
Yeah. Because before
James.
I was going down to the market to the French area to was it La Panere? Right? So now I'm going that way. And you have to get there early. It gets really busy. Because when you're going down to the market, there's a lot of tourists in the summertime, but
we love them.
And we love them.
We love
them. Right? But I don't think they know about the La Parisienne. I think it's like the local neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's what I noticed the difference. And I like both places, but I've started walking there, getting my baguettes and really, getting a little bit of my food and things for the week. Then I go down to the famous De Laurentiis.
Oh, yes.
That's a store that you can never get out of, right?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Get all of my, cheeses, cold cuts, wine, all those types of things. Been working out a little bit more and going all the way back to South Lake Union and walking back to the Amazon Spears and just walking around that area because there's so many great green spaces. So I've been appreciating that side of town. So that's kind of like my perfect Saturday because I love to cook. So cooking for me is relaxing. So being able to pick up all of my stuff and then walk back home and then cook and then maybe, go out and get a cocktail later right in the area. And now that what's open now, that's my favorite place, Tom Douglas's restaurant.
Oh, Palace.
Yes.
Back. Yeah.
It's back.
Great to have him back.
And
Speaking
it stays
of late
open
night.
late.
Exactly.
Right. And has the best burger.
Yeah.
So you'll see me there. That's my little cocktail at night because I can just walk down the street. So I'm kind of exploring. It's kind of fun because I'm going to different places that I haven't been before, knowing that I live, only a couple blocks around. But you'll be, I'll be here 7 years in Seattle. And there's still places in downtown that I don't get to explore. I don't think people really understand all the gems of places that are downtown. But, it's not just Pike's Market. It's going back, to 7th to going to the places that we were just talking about or going to La Cavista or going on all those different directions. But, you don't always have time. And so I've been starting to just take different chunks of downtown and just going to explore on the weekend because I don't really get to do it during the week. But it's been great because I've found so many different places that I didn't even know that were there.
What a great advertisement for downtown living or visiting or getting back to the office. Is there a downtown
living magazine that I should be on?
It feels like you should be publishing it.
I know. Maybe I should work on that one next.
Contributing to it. Well, thank you, Michele, for coming back on Seattle City Makers, and congrats on a year of leadership of this great institution that'll turn 25 next year, and people can read you on Forbes. Keep an eye out for your book. Is there a rough date in the future when you think you might be published?
I'm going to release it in October. So yeah, release October. But lots of great announcemements coming out. I'm going to just leave everyone with a teaser that there's some great announcements coming about the Museum of Pop Culture that will happen in June.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's a good tease. And in the meantime, get down here for your new exhibit.
Come see Massive, The Power of Pop Culture.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again for making time for this.
Thank you for having me for the second time. OG.
Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Michele. Thank you to her again for returning to Seattle City Makers and all she's doing over there at MoPOP to bring great energy and exhibits to that terrific museum as it approaches its 25-year anniversary here in our city. So thanks again to Michele for making time to come on the podcast. I want to close out, as I do each and every episode, with a tip for something you got to check out in downtown Seattle. And I want to highlight the now open new Tom Douglas restaurant, Half Shell, which is in the old Edda space, the former Edda space, at the north end of the market there on Western, now open on May 11th. They had a nice little opening party the week prior that I got to, and Tom and his wife Jackie were out there shucking oysters, and Eric Tanaka serving great food behind the counter and great bites and drinks. And the space is super cool with these cozy booths and a great bar. They're open 7 days a week and a happy hour 7 days a week from 3 p.m. to 5. So visit Half Shell at 2020 Western Avenue in downtown Seattle, again, in the former Edda space. So thanks again to Tom and the team for their investment in downtown Seattle. It's a great spot, and they're creating jobs and great food and beverage experiences for all of us to enjoy. So check out Half Shell. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this episode of Seattle City Makers, presented by the Downtown Seattle Association, with support from James Cito and production by Spark Creative.